Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Wires. In this episode, we are going to be ranting, not talking, we are going to be ranting about why mortgages are so hard to get in Nigeria. First, Nigeria is a primary market. We are still developing the housing sector. So most of the houses are being built right now. In the Western world, they have a secondary market. The houses have already been built and they're just reselling from one person to another. That is the reason why they give mortgages, or they say the house has to be fully finished or almost finished before we give you a mortgage. In Nigeria, where you're still building the house, most banks will tell you the house has to be semi-finished or fully finished, meaning it has to be 80% done or fully done before you get a mortgage. Now, this is the issue that makes it so hard to get a mortgage. Developers found out that, okay, how can we help customers own houses? So they said, you know what, we are going to come up with payment plans so that you don't have to buy outright. Because before, you had to buy a house outright before you can ever say you can own any property. So developers said, okay, let's come up with payment plans. They came up with payment plans. Now, most of these payment plans start at off plan. The price they're giving you at that off plan is actually quite affordable. When they get to semi-finished, that price has doubled. When it's fully finished, the price has probably tripled. Me as a worker, let's say I'm earning let's say 500,000 naira a month, and I can afford a house that's 20 million on a mortgage, and then they're selling it at off plan at 20 million. By the time the developer gets it to semi-finish, that house is 40 million. What I was earning hasn't changed, but my affordability for that same property has changed. By the time it gets to fully finished, my affordability cannot even afford that house at fully finished. But at off plan, I can afford that house. But no bank is willing to give me a mortgage at off plan, meaning I will not be able to get that house. So now mortgages are meant to help you people own houses. Now, because mortgage banks or commercial banks are saying you must get it at fully finished or you must get it at semi-finished, it means I can't even afford to own most of these houses, because by the time they are semi-finished or fully finished, people's affordability cannot accommodate the monthly repayments that it takes to get it. So you're, instead of solving the issue, you're making the issue more difficult. Now, you can't even blame banks, because there are so many untrustworthy developers. They're just untrustworthy developers. Developers they'll tell you they'll build this house in 24 months, and then 36 months down the line, 48 months down the line, they are still building. Some developers don't even build it at all. After they get some money, they build it to a level to attract more buyers. Because by the time you go there and you see that it has gotten to this level, you say, beautiful. So they build it to a level to attract more buyers, then they jump out with your money. Or you hear one developer was popping bottles in a club. Developer, they pop bottles in the club and I bought house with him. Really? This is what happens. So there's so much distrust between banks and developers that most of the banks say, okay, that house has to be semi-finished or fully finished. At least I know that you have finished the property. So these are some of the issues that are affecting how you get a mortgage in Nigeria. And most of these banks have to say, you know what, there are some trustworthy developers. A lot of them are on the GIDA platform. I mean, there's Alphabet, there's Modern Shelter, there's Urban Shelter, there's Kairos Hof, there's Bilad, there's 1 Square Meter by Dan Tata, there's Map Global, there's Arcsterix, there's 12 Million Miles. There are a bunch of them. There's Wisdom Quality Smart City. There are a bunch of them. These are developers that have been there, that have built thousands of homes. A developer like Urban Shelter has been there for 32 years. But yet, you might still hear some banks saying, I don't trust you, so I'm not going to give people mortgages on off plan. People that have been in the game for 32 years, you're going to tell them that they have to deliver houses to fully finished or semi-finished before you're actually giving out mortgages to customers. That's so unrealistic. And then you know what happens or what this causes? Government institutions like Family Homes Fund, like Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and other government institutions or state government institutions, what they have to do is they have to now fill in that gap. That's what they have to do. They have to fill in the gap that this delivery level subscription thing is causing. So they have to say, you know what, my primary responsibility is to actually provide financing for people to buy houses. But because the amount of houses are limited, because With developer payment plans, most developers will sell those houses before they get to semi-finished or fully finished delivery level. Most developers sell at off plan. So the houses available on semi-finished and fully finished are minimal. So now Federal Mortgage Bank, Family Homes Fund have to come in and build houses as well as provide mortgages. So they are doing two things now. They are acting as the builders and they're acting as the financiers of mortgages. Imagine if they could be only financing mortgages. Imagine if I can buy a house by Urban Shelter or buy a house by 1 square meter by Datata. Datata has a house that's 12 million naira right now in studio apartment. I want to buy that house and I want to get it on Airbnb as soon as possible, but I cannot buy that house right now because every single mortgage bank is telling me to buy it at fully finished or semi-finished. By the time it gets to fully finished or semi-finished, that house is 24 million. I probably can't afford it with how much I earn because they use your salary and other things like that. So this is one of the issues, and that is why Agida, one of the ways we're trying to solve this, first and foremost, developer payment plans, we're trying to extend it. We are giving developers the same tools banks use to access a customer's credit risk. Banks can give mortgages at 20-30 years because they do proper risk assessment, and then they use tools to do this risk assessment. They analyze your employment history, they analyze your credit report, they analyze your bank statement. What we did at Gida is we gave developers that same ability, because we are telling developers, hey, if you have the same ability that banks actually have, or you have the same tools that banks use to access risks, maybe you can start extending these payment plans. Instead of 2 years to be the most, 24 months, get it up to 36, get it up to 48, get it up to 60, get it up to 72 months. Now, another thing we are doing at Gida is that we are building trust. In every single developer has a profile, and in that profile they tell you how many years they have been in this game. They tell you their past projects, they tell you what they're meant to do. They have site updates, so they can be keeping customers always informed about what's going on the site. A developer that is not doing what he's meant to do will first not be submitting site updates, so he's not showing his customers any single thing. Now, if there's a place where every developer can be giving site updates on their property, you will actually know the developers that actually say they actually start and finish, and the ones that don't start and finish. Customers can leave ratings on developers on the platform. The rating system is there for a reason, is to improve efficiency. Customers can leave ratings on developers. When they start rating developers, they start improving. They will actually start delivering. We at Gida even do our due diligence, and we have said no to some developers because of the things we have actually found out, and we have said no. So most of the developers on our platform are actually to be trusted. And that's why we are creating that system, because we need to bring back trust. Banks and developers should be able to trust each other. And that's why another thing that we are doing on the platform is we are giving banks and developers the ability to partner, but not just partner. They can describe the delivery level they can partner on. So they can say, I want to do semi-finished, fully finished, but they can also say, okay, you know what? I trust you enough. I'm going to allow people to get mortgages on Kaka's delivery level. This is some of the ways we are solving this issue, because we understand it. We are going through it. A lot of the people building the Gida platform, a lot of the people that are working with us, whether directly or indirectly, want to buy houses through mortgages. So they understand the pains, and it is these pains that we're trying to solve, because unless they start giving mortgages at delivery levels other than semi-finished or fully finished, most of the houses that are being built will either be empty like they are right now in Abuja. A lot of them are empty, or it will just not solve the housing crisis, which is actually meant to solve. Mortgage is meant to be able to provide houses, but when the mortgage can't provide the houses that are being built, then it's not doing anything. If you ask people how many of you have a mortgage, there are not a lot of people that have a mortgage. And then what's the reason? They don't trust it. It's not accessible. The bank has to be the one financing a project. How many projects can a bank possibly finance before you give it out at off plan? And then developers, beautiful idea of what you guys did. Beautiful idea. You guys started developer payment plans to actually give people some flexibility in owning your homes, especially when you're starting. This has created a lot of developers, but some of them have been fraudulent, some of them are actually doing well. Extend your payment plans. When you come on GIDA, you have the tools. Extend your payment plans. For developers that are not yet on the GIDA platform, think of coming on the GIDA platform so that you can extend your payment plans. A lot of you guys want people in the diaspora. Most people in the diaspora don't buy houses outright. They buy on mortgages because that's what they are used to. They are used to a credit system. So extend that credit facility, but before you do it, have the tools to actually access whether they'll be able to pay you or not, which is what the GIDA platform does. And this is one of the ways we're trying to solve this crisis, using the tools that we're developing. And we are going to keep building to make sure that we actually solve this, because the mortgage or long-term payment plans is the most feasible way to own a house. It is the most feasible. As things are hard right now, you think how many people can afford to buy outright? How many? So we have to get it right. We need to. For the banks out there, for the primary mortgage banks out there, for the developers out there that are listening to this, if any of you are listening to this, I hope this gets to you. You need to get it right. We need to fix this, unless the housing issue is just going to keep expanding. And then don't call yourself a mortgage bank if you're not providing mortgages. How many mortgages do you provide every single year? Then calculate it with the housing crisis as it keeps increasing, and then you actually know whether you're a mortgage bank. If you're not providing up to a couple thousand mortgages every year, call yourself a mortgage bank. You're probably just saving people's money indirectly. You need to be providing mortgages, and you cannot provide as many mortgages as you should if you're providing it on, or the criteria is only to access it on semi-finished or finished delivery levels. You cannot, and that is totally wrong. We need to change that. We need to find a way to bring back the trust in that system, so that developers and banks can trust each other, so that customers can benefit. People like me can start buying at off plan, because I need to buy a house at off plan. People in my generation, people younger coming up, can start buying at off plan, because that's when houses are the cheapest. There's never a time a house will be cheaper than an off plan. Never. That is when most people should be getting a mortgage. And if a developer keeps his word and says he's going to build in 12 months or 24 months, you can start deducting from me immediately my loan is approved. And as long as that developer keeps to his word, I don't mind spending the time in that 12 months or 24 months renting, so that I can move into my own house after that. A lot of people think like this. A lot of people are like me, because they would rather buy it now and move in than keep paying rent for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Let's do the right thing. Thank you for listening, and don't forget, GIDA is the best way to buy a house. GIDA is the most trustworthy way to buy a house. GIDA is the easiest way to buy a house. GIDA is the way where it's providing you the ability to buy a house through mortgage plans, NHF, rent to own, developer payment plans, outright purchase. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.